This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be construed as investment, tax, or legal advice. Any examples or frameworks discussed are general in nature and may not be suitable for all investors. All investing involves risk, including the possible loss of principal. Past experiences and planning approaches do not guarantee future results. I want to talk about something today that I think is really meaningful, doesn't get talked about a lot, and it touches on investing a little bit, but it's really more about managing lifestyle and improving all areas of your life. And what it is really amounts to managing your energy. It's taking care of your health, not just your wealth. I bet everyone can think of someone, and maybe this is you, where that person's built significant wealth. And from the outside looking in, everything seems completely rosy. But on the inside, they're probably more tired than they care to admit. They might be really rushed with their meal intake. They might be outsourcing it altogether and not in the best way possible. Might not be working out at all. And even though they are incredibly financially wealthy, they might not be healthy. So I've seen this a lot with entrepreneurs, investors, even just busy professionals. They don't neglect their health on purpose. It just sort of happens by default. I think it's because success can create a lot of complexity. And we all only have 24 hours a day. So if you take from one area, it's got to come from some other area. So they come across more opportunities. They might have to make more decisions. More people are asking for their time, whether it's needed or not. And these things are important, but they might be crowding out some of these other essential things that you might regret later on not taking better care of. For a while, you might just be fitting in your health needs. And after a while, it might just slip away altogether. This could be the business owner who finds financial freedom, but just doesn't have energy to enjoy it. Or an investor who compounds their portfolio in a terrific manner, but their physical capacity declines. I think that's really sad. I've seen it across from my desk quite a few times. And when they get to the point where they can't admit it, sometimes they just wish that they had slowed down and really focused on this more instead of taking it for granted. So if you feel like your constraint is your time or your energy or your attention, and it's no longer your financial capacity, then it might be time to really take a hard look at what you're doing to maintain your health. At a certain point, having a really strong balance sheet and a really strong income, that just allows you to free up your time and your mental bandwidth and take advantage of the stuff that you might have put off before. Because you can't outsource your cardiovascular system, you can't delegate your metabolism, and you certainly can't compound your energy to use for later. I see a lot of fitness and wellness gurus on social media, and I really don't know much about that at all. But from what I've seen, and maybe this is just because these tend to get the most views, is that things can get pretty extreme. I take care of things for myself, and I found that there's just a few high leverage decisions that have made a huge difference for me that I think anyone should be able to implement. So I like to treat my health like a meeting that I can't move, similar to meeting with a really important client. So I work out at basically the same times every day. If I have to switch things up, then I pre-schedule it. And I make this totally non-negotiable. And for the most part, it really works. Occasionally I get sick, but most of the time I'm able to stick with my commitment. And I like to do it in the morning. I get that not everyone's a morning person, but that's what works for me. Maybe something different works for you. I think it's really more about finding a time where you can totally commit to it and not skip, rather than always doing it in the morning. I also like to reduce my decision-making around food. I love to cook. It brings me a lot of joy, especially when I can make something that I can physically pick up and enjoy, which I don't really get to do in any other part of my life. And I used to eat really poorly because I just didn't know how to make the meals, and I felt like this isn't a high leverage use of my time, but eventually it became that way. I like repeating meals throughout the week just to keep things a little simpler. Helps me with my decision fatigue too. Pre-planning works great for me. And I like to make my go-to healthy options easily available, just knowing where I can go or what I can get on the fly that's quick and healthy. And then I like to make unhealthy options a lot more difficult to access. Simply by not having those things in my house works wonders. Another thing I like to do is sort of design my environment. That way I don't have to rely on willpower. So I get up really early. I like to have my running gear set up all ready to go on my dresser so I can just put it on and go. Again, eliminating that decision fatigue makes things a lot easier. Back to the the food situation, just making healthy food visible and accessible, making unhealthy food just harder to get to. And then we also tend to travel a lot. So planning that routine out in advance, bringing the right food along, and then even planning my exercise times around travel days so that I don't have an excuse to miss it. Another thing I like to do is actually use my excess capital, not just for investing, but for buying back my health time. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. So I ran for a really long time. That was all that I did. And as I got closer to 40, I felt like I needed to work on some strength training more, but that wasn't something that I'd ever done before. So I hired a trainer and we worked for a short period of time just so that I could actually learn what to do. Another thing that helped just with accountability, and the trainer did help with accountability, but having a friend to run with when I was doing major training, that helped a lot too. Sometimes when I've been really busy in business, I've outsourced meal prep. And as long as you prepare ahead of time and make the effort to make it healthy, then that can work really well too. And then just delegating tasks that get in the way of me doing my health goals. So I had a virtual assistant for a little while, and she just took things off my plate. That really helped me when I was hitting a big mountain of work that I absolutely needed help with. And then the last thing that I feel really made a huge difference for me was aligning my financial life with my health and energy goals. So I purposely select investments that leave enough time for me to exercise and eat healthy. I created my real estate buy box so that it protects my health, and I only invest in things that are management light. And then I have a closely held financial planning business too. And it's intentionally designed not to maximize growth at all costs, but it gives me that flexibility so that I can exercise and eat proper meals at proper times. For me, I'm not asking how much can I accumulate at this point. It's how well can I live? How can I make it consistent? And how can I make it sustainable? And if you made it all the way through this, like, let's face it, if your health deteriorates, your options shrink, the experiences you can have start to narrow, and your relationships change. And while none of it shows up on your balance sheet, it's pretty consequential for real life. And I'll leave you with this. I've never heard anyone say, man, I wish that I spent less time taking care of my health. It's only ever been the opposite. So if this resonates with you, I would say, even though I'm not a health and fitness guru, I don't really know a ton about this other than my own experience. Just don't treat your health like something that you'll get to later. Design your life and your finances in a way that protects it now.